I have a long list of laws that I'd love to see the federal government adopt today. But these problems that these policies seek to fix either pale in comparison to or would be exacerbated by the really big problem that is climate change. Human industrial activity, primarily the burning of fossil fuels, led to more than 50 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions in 2016. These greenhouse gases trap heat in the atmosphere and raise global temperatures. Realizing this was bad, the world got together and agreed to try to limit global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. This may not sound like much, but Earth's climate is a delicate beast, and these seemingly small changes will bring great amounts of human suffering, causing more frequent and intense natural disasters, eroded coast, and a massive hit to the world economy. These tragedies will disproportionately affect low-income families and people of color. Immediate action is needed to quickly reduce global greenhouse gas emissions, and the US can be a world leader by enacting a heavy tax on carbon. Presently, corporations and individuals with large carbon footprints pay nothing for their ill effects on humanity's future. This is what economists call a negative externality. Those not involved in the transaction are harmed by the choices of others. A tax on carbon simultaneously ensures that those responsible are forced to pay for it and incentivizes the use of cleaner energy sources. Many countries around the world already have a carbon tax, forcing companies who burn fossil fuels to pay up. The Carbon Tax Center estimated that a bill proposed in 2015, which would have imposed a carbon tax of $12.50 per ton of carbon emitted and increased the tax by the same $12.50 each year, would cut US CO2 emissions by nearly 60% by 2040. This would be great progress, but our daunting challenge calls for larger action. The US should enact a $150 tax per ton of carbon emitted, matching Sweden for the world's highest rate. There is already a growing bipartisan coalition around a carbon tax, as Republicans appreciate the market-based solution and Democrats are pleased with action against climate change. Valid worries that the tax would be regressive could be easily relieved by returning the revenues as a dividend to all households. In its first year, a $150 carbon tax could provide a check of $5,000 or more to every American home, working to offset the cost of higher energy bills and even providing some extra dollars in the pockets of low-income families who have smaller carbon footprints than their wealthy counterparts. In fact, this sort of carbon tax policy that returns revenues directly to Americans could introduce the country to a universal basic income, possibly setting the stage for national debates on bold anti-poverty initiatives, all while beginning to tackle global warming. It's important to note that a carbon tax would indeed only be the beginning. The federal government must also invest in green technologies, modernize the electric grid, and push public transportation on electric vehicles. Further, the US cannot solve a global problem alone and should leverage its status as the world's largest exporter to coerce other nations into adopting similar environmental policies. We must act now to preserve our future, and a large tax on carbon is a big leap in the right direction.